Okay, I'm live. Let's post this. I can hear myself. Hello. Ooh, Steve's here. Hi. Hi. Ooh, hi Ray, Rainbow, Kate, Kat. Hi guys. Hi everyone. Ooh, okay. Hi Steve, how are you? Hi Fatima. Aw, a lot of these guys are from my Lunar Mission Club. That's so cute. Hi Mari, Los Angeles. Awesome. That's where I'm from. Oh, you are telling me, Kate. Yep. Yeah, peace to you, Rainbow. Thank you. Ronald, hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're having a wonderful week. How are you guys feeling? I would love to know because I mean, from your responses from the question stickers the other day, I know everyone is feeling a spectrum of intensity, it really feels like. Some of us are feeling really crazy and just want to take a nap. Others of us are feeling sad, but also hopeful. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of conflicting energy, but that is really the definition of eclipse season because this is really a time of acceleration, a kind of like a cyclone of energy, like I was talking about before. You are exhausted. Tell me about it. Literally, the last eclipse, May 26th, that was one of the first days in a while that I took a nap. I never ever take naps, but for some reason I was really just like, I need to lie down today, and I ended up taking a nap. Feel good, good things are coming. I feel the same way too. I mean, you guys know I've had a lot of like emotional shit come up recently. I've been kind of telling you guys some of that stuff of like anger, crying, literally screaming outside in the woods. But for this week, I'm starting to finally feel like there is some progress, and a big part of that was letting go of some of my really rigid expectations. And now I feel a lot more clear-headed too, even though I have no idea where I'm going. And I feel a lot more open-minded about where I'm trying to go. So that's good. A lot of you guys are feeling drained. I know. Sleeping. I hope your dreams have been activated for some of you guys too. Yeah, wiped out. That's totally normal. That's totally things to expect. And it's weird because we have this like eclipse intensity, but also the retrograde slowdown and confusion and just like general haziness. And so it's definitely an intense period of time. Yeah, being productive, but also creative passions are really our kind of like outlet right now. Some of us may need to reconnect to our passions or figure out like what is it without all the chatter of other people. So hopefully this upcoming eclipse bring some of that clarity to us, because I definitely feel like clarity, communication, and hearing some kind of message is a really big theme for this upcoming eclipse. Hi, Maria, joining from the Lunar Mission Club as well. Yeah, miscommunication is definitely a big one with the retrograde energy. And so it is definitely a time to be mindful of what you have to say. Some things might be left better unsaid actually until at least after the eclipse and some of the energy has died down. And I'll tell you guys, yes, we have the eclipse tomorrow, but we also have another crazy alignment happening next week. And so June is really intense, I feel. June is a big time of reshuffling and alignment for all of us. And so hopefully you guys are at least taking it easy, because this is energy clearing. Like, we're just gonna feel tired. We're just gonna feel emotional. That's literally a sign that subconscious blockers or just like stagnant things in us are being released. And so don't feel bad about taking a nap, honestly. Hi guys. Okay, awesome. Let's see, it's 5:04. Yeah, I think I'll get started right away because there is a lot I want to cover. I want to give you guys a lot of context of what's going on as well, not just talking about this eclipse. But you guys know tomorrow, June 10th, we have our second eclipse of the year. It is a new moon solar eclipse in Gemini at 6:53 a.m. Eastern Time, and that is 10:53 a.m. GMT. So I posted that in the comments pinned there. You can figure out what time that is for you. But really, even though it's becoming exact tomorrow, we have truly been feeling this eclipse energy for the last 2 weeks at least. And we will continue to feel it for 2 weeks after. So I definitely want to emphasize that eclipses are not just a one and done deal. It's not like it just happens and leave. This is a continuation. This is a journey that we're on. And so you can expect to feel these energies really until the end of June. And I will make some more of that clear later on. I definitely agree that there is somewhat of a negative aspect from this eclipse to Neptune that I'll talk a lot about, because even though the eclipse is bringing us clarity, there is definitely a certain amount of confusion and fog layered on top of it, including with Mercury retrograde as well. But we just have to trust that this is what we're supposed to be experiencing, and more clarity will come as we look deep within as well. So the eclipse is on June 10th, 6:53 a.m. It is going to be at 19 degrees of Gemini. So you guys may want to check on your chart which house that falls in for you. Yes, I will absolutely be posting this live to my page, by the way. But I have my paper chart again just to illustrate for you guys. Where is Gemini? Here is Gemini. This is like the start of Gemini at 1 degrees or 0 degrees. And then 19 degrees of Gemini may fall right about here, kind of towards the end, getting towards Cancer. But for this imaginary person, the eclipse is falling in their 11th house. So just be mindful of that. You may definitely want to check. I have a highlights bubble called Finding Degrees if you want a tutorial on how to find this on your own chart. But I'm calling this out, and I'm calling out 19 degrees of Gemini because I feel like Gemini in general has been a really important sign for all of us this year, regardless of whether you have Gemini placements or not. And that's because we have had the North Node in Gemini for all of this year. The North Node entered Gemini last year, like around May 2020, I believe, and it will continue into 2022. And so we have been in this overarching time of life where our North Node, our collective destiny, has been pointing towards Gemini ideals. I've talked a little bit about this before, but really pointing towards the fact that we need to be realigning to what is truth, fact, data, over the South Node in Sagittarius, which is about beliefs, opinion, self-righteousness, dogma. So North Node in Gemini has really been calling these themes to our attention. And the house you have in Gemini, that's really been active for everyone this year. So you definitely want to check which house you have in Gemini, because that's the zone where you have been really experiencing fated events, destined encounters. It's almost like uncontrollable things that are just meant to happen to us. It's honestly kind of the feeling like these events we're experiencing now were like written in our soul contracts, so to speak. And it was something that we were meant to go through. It is destiny. And so the Gemini house is really important. And it feels like with this eclipse tomorrow being in Gemini, the same sign as the North Node, it's really going to accelerate all of these themes that the North Node has been building in our lives for the last year or so. So again, it's really important to figure out how this energy has been manifesting for you. Yeah, some people have it in their 5th house. Some people have it in their 1st house. If Gemini is your South Node, then your South Node of karma has really been activated. So this has really been a year of release for you, where you have been facing your karma, which is kind of like the past actions, your debts that you may have incurred from this lifetime or past lifetimes. But it's really kind of a time to face your shadows and be able to let go of them. So hopefully I have time to get more into that towards the end, but I want to get into kind of the overall context of the time and space we're in right now, because of course we know there's an eclipse tomorrow, but what is the overall context or background of what is happening in the cosmos? So we are currently in eclipse season. This is something that happens twice a year. It happens once in the summertime and once in the winter time. And so we are in the middle of eclipse season now. The first eclipse we had was on May 26th, the full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. And now tomorrow we will have another new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. So we are in the thick of it. And like I said before, with eclipses, you can really feel this energy building up 2 weeks before the actual eclipse and then 2 weeks after. And so we've really been in this kind of like energy vortex ever since mid-May all the way until end of June, really. So this is really a time of activation for all of us. I want to explain like what is really the importance of eclipse season, or what is like the metaphysical reason behind it. So eclipse season is a time really of destiny. So that means it's a time when the universe steps in to redirect our path in some way. It is a time when we are experiencing, again, those fated events or uncontrollable life events that are meant to happen, because the whole point of eclipse season is to push us back onto our path of greatest potential, our higher calling, basically. You guys know through astrology, we each have a really important soul mission to fulfill. And I can't emphasize that enough. We each have something really important that we're here to do based on your North Node, based on your South Node. We have a greater mission we're here to fulfill. But of course, just with modern society, sometimes we tend to become distracted from our overall mission because we're distracted by relationships or bad exes or just like horrible bosses. We just get caught up in the drama of life that sometimes we lose sight of the bigger picture. And so eclipse season is really a time when the universe is making things happen in order to push us back onto our path. And sometimes that will mean things that are uncomfortable, like a breakup, like you are saying right now, an unexpected breakup, the loss of a job. Some of us have quit jobs on our own. Some of us have reached the end of a cycle. I mean, things are just kind of happening deliberately out of our control that are meant to push us back onto the path of our higher calling. So hopefully you guys can understand that even though a lot of this stuff kind of seems intense and out of control, like we are powerless in this situation, but the best approach, of course, is to be in a state of surrender and to receive this information, because all of it is really happening to redirect our path. And things will become a lot more clear once Mercury leaves retrograde on June 22nd. But just letting you guys know that this is the context of the energies we're feeling right now. The last eclipse on the 26th was a full moon lunar eclipse. So that was all about release. Full moons are always about release or the ending of a cycle or like the ending of a chapter. I'm like doing knife block things. But that's why so many of us have felt like something was ending or something was lost. Even if you didn't feel anything externally, you might have just felt a sense of sadness that something on a soul level is being closed or something is being released. I know some of us have actually faced external release. Like I know someone from my lunar mission community literally lost her job on the day of the last eclipse. Someone else quit her job like around the eclipse. So hopefully you guys have felt like you were able to shed things that are not working out for you. And with the last eclipse, a big theme was around stubborn beliefs, basically. Stubborn beliefs or opinions or just kind of like mindset blocks that are keeping us stuck. And so I just want to emphasize that because with the eclipse coming up, this next eclipse is all about new beginnings and fresh starts, but we can't really take advantage of it unless we have fully let go of some of the things that the universe is pointing that is our blockers or is something that is no longer serving us. And so if you haven't done that yet, this is really the time now to think about like what are some stubborn beliefs that I just can't shake, or stubborn like truths about myself or my body or my appearance, any of those things. It's really the time to let go of it, because the upcoming eclipse is all about bringing something new into your life. And it's really that time to write a new chapter. So tomorrow's eclipse is a new moon solar eclipse. You guys probably know that like a general normal new moon, there are always times of fresh beginnings and new starts. But when the new moon is also tied with an eclipse, it's almost like an explosive new beginning where things can happen a lot faster than the average new moon. And so, you know, typically with an average new moon, we kind of say that the intentions you set will manifest in about 6 months' time. But with the new moon solar eclipse, that can happen much faster. It might not take 6 months. It might take a couple of weeks or even a couple of days, honestly. And so this is the energy vortex that we're in. Really, things can unfold a lot more quickly. So that is what we need to understand. After so much releasing with the last eclipse, this is the time to write a new chapter, because the eclipse is in Gemini, and Gemini is the sign that rules writing, journaling. It is very much a storyteller. And so it's like we get the chance to tell our own story, tell it with our authentic voice, and tell it in the way that we feel like is right for us, not based on the beliefs of other people, which would be very Sagittarius. This eclipse being in Gemini really shows us that we need to be taking a Gemini approach with this new chapter we're about to write. Being more Gemini, embracing Gemini energy, leaning into the Gemini approach is really our ticket to success, basically, with this new chapter. It is really the mindset and vibe that we have to be in. And again, it is emphasized because the North Node has been in Gemini all of this year. And so it has really been calling us to align to that vibration. So yes, great question. How do we actually do that? What does being Gemini look like? So here I have a couple of tips on what we need to be doing in terms of aligning to this vibration. So the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Gemini, it is really the sign of curiosity, like really playful curiosity, playful exploration, just being very like wondrous and big-eyed about the world. Gemini is the student, whereas Sagittarius is the teacher. So we are letting go of being too much of a teacher, as in thinking that we know all the answers and thinking that we're right all the time, even if we might not be, basically. We are learning how to be more Gemini, which is to always be the lifelong learner or the student. And so you want to be always curious and open-minded about what the future has to hold. So I really feel like this is a moon where we need to be setting intentions for our future, but without tying it to a specific outcome, if that makes sense. We cannot be setting an intention like, I want to get this job or this relationship or this car, whatnot. It really needs to be very open-ended because we need to embody the curiosity that we're just open to whatever is about to come. We're open to it manifesting in this type of way or in a totally different type of way. But it is still to be written. And the beauty of it is that we get to be playful with it and we get to have fun while we figure out what is the best route for us. So being curious is really open-minded. And again, that really ties to the last eclipse that had us releasing dogma and self-righteousness. So if you have not done the release yet, then it's going to be hard for you to step into the next eclipse. And so that's why it is important to look at it in terms of, both are important with this eclipse season. So first thing is about being curious and just kind of setting intentions that are more open-ended, a lot more about how you want to feel rather than the practical outcome that you want to have. If the eclipse was more in an earth sign, then we might want to set practical outcomes, but this is in an air sign, so we want to be much more open-ended. The second way to align to this eclipse that I feel like is really important for all of us is to really realign to our authentic truth and to what we believe is true to us, because the last eclipse showed us that there are aspects of our lives where we are way too swayed by the opinions of other people or by the beliefs of other people. I know one person has this eclipse falling in their first house of identity and physical health. And one big theme that she is realizing now is the fact that she has body image issues because of what she was taught in childhood, by society, by the beliefs of other people that don't resonate with us. How do we define beauty? How do we see ourselves as beautiful? Like, what is our authentic truth? And so that is really important to consider with this next eclipse, because the eclipse in Gemini is really signaling kind of the rebirth of truth or the rebirth of clarity. It is really trying to help us see things much more clearly. And so we need to be really aligned to the fact that we are shedding things that other people have taught us or other people have told us is true, and we're figuring out what is our authentic truth. And how I think we should best do that with this eclipse is actually through conversations with other people, actually. So you guys probably know that Gemini is a sign of the twins, so they do like the concept of like partnership, dynamic duos, being around someone. So I definitely think it's a good thing for a lot of us to be in conversation around this new moon. Like find a friend to call up, or like, I don't know, an old friend, whatever, some kind of like coworker buddy. But I think it's really important to engage in dialogue for this eclipse for the rest of June, because conversation, dialogue, communication, that's really the best way for us to figure out our authentic truth. And our truth may actually come through the help of other people, because other people can sort of act as a mirror to us and help us see kind of what we are not able to see in ourselves. So I definitely encourage a lot of you guys to reach out to someone, connect with someone, especially if they are people from the past, because we are in Mercury retrograde. And so revisiting the past or old relationships can really help this truth come about. So that is one thing. Another big thing with Gemini that I think is important for this eclipse with Gemini and Mercury retrograde, I feel like a big theme of the eclipse is really like rewriting stories about ourselves. Like stories about ourselves and who we are and our identity, and also stories about the past and what our past might have been like or how our past defined us. And I say this because Mercury is in retrograde right now. So this is a time when we need to revisit the past. And the eclipse is in Gemini. So Gemini is all about our mindset or our thinking and our perception. And so it's really the time to rewrite our thinking, our mindset, our perception, how we see things, how we receive things, how we perceive. All of those things come to mind. Again, the eclipse is going to help us see things more clearly. And that will mean we need to rewrite certain things that are not true, that are not fact. Gemini wants to know what is the authentic truth, what is the facts and data that align to us. And so we need to be rewriting anything that does not feel in alignment to our soul. So hopefully that can be helpful to you guys as well. Let me just see. Yeah, you guys have talked about therapy appointment on Thursday. That's actually really good. Yeah, absolutely. Because you are engaging in conversation, communication. As much as you can do that in person or online, I definitely feel like talking things out is a big way in which we will figure out our next steps for this eclipse. Okay, so the final thing I want to get into before moving on to other things is, again, the concept of dynamic duos and partnerships. So I definitely feel like with this eclipse, we should be thinking about how we can leverage our friends and really our social networks to achieve our goals or to get more of what we want. Gemini kind of rules social media and social networking and your local community. So this is really the time to reach out to friends or old bosses, old coworkers, especially from the past with the retrograde energy. And so reaching out to your networks, like your friends of friends or your coworkers' friends, anything like that will be really helpful to, again, figure out your next steps and figure out what truth you are really trying to unearth in yourself. So hopefully that can be helpful. Okay. Yeah, houses in Gemini, I will get to that at the end. I want to run through them, but let me finish. I do feel like there are definitely things that we can expect to happen tomorrow and for the next 2 weeks. So I really want to share this with you guys. So the moon is in Gemini, the sign of communication. The moon eclipse is also going to align right next to Mercury, which is also the planet of communication. So the big thing that I want everyone to know is that you should expect to hear some kind of news or email or text message or just like a message from your dreams. I definitely feel like a lot of us should be expecting to hear some kind of news tomorrow and for the rest of this month, because again, the eclipse energy really is going to last for the next 2 weeks. So I definitely feel like hearing some kind of news or hearing back from a job you applied for or hearing back from an ex, of course, all of those things will be a big theme. I know every astrologer will be talking about this because, again, the moon is in Gemini. It's aligning right next to Mercury, which is the planet of communication. So definitely expect to hear something. And this information is going to be exactly what you need to hear to move forward with your next steps. The phrase of truth bomb has also come to my mind a couple of times. I definitely feel like some of us are going to be experiencing that, basically like a rush of truth or a rush of clarity. But I definitely want to warn you guys that even though we are about to receive a message or some kind of news, there is definitely this sense that the news or message is not going to be quite straightforward. It is definitely going to be unclear. There is a level of haziness surrounding this news. And I'm saying this because Mercury is in retrograde. So in retrograde, it always brings confusion. It always brings a sense that what we see is not what we get. I'm also saying this because the eclipse will be squaring Neptune, as someone else pointed out before. But the square is a tense aspect, and Neptune is the planet of confusion and illusion and haziness. And so I definitely want to call out the fact that even though we will likely receive some information, it's not going to be perfectly clear what we should do with it or what is our next step. So I definitely want you guys to be aware of that. It's going to be something that it's not clear what the message is, or it's not like immediately obvious. It could even be manipulative in some way where what you see is not what you get. With Neptune, there is also sort of this sense of loss. So it can even mean letting go of something, like letting go of a dream, because dreams are associated with Neptune. So I don't want to say this to scare any of you guys, but I just want to be clear. Even though we hear something, it may be something that is confusing and not meant to be perfectly clear right away. Things will definitely become a lot more clear as Mercury leaves retrograde towards the end of the month. But this is a time when we're sort of supposed to receive a little bit of clarity, but not the full picture. Yes, the new moon is trine Saturn, and I will talk about that too, but the square to Neptune is closer than the trine. And so the confusion is stronger than the trine, basically. So just expect to hear a message that is confusing. The best way to deal with that is really going to require deep self-reflection, honestly. It's going to require you sitting with this new information or this text message you got or this email and really figuring out like, what is the truth of this message, or what am I supposed to take away? And it might be one of those things where it's like, you feel like you have like a light bulb moment, like an aha moment, an insight, but that is quickly followed by doubt and anxiety and fear, confusion basically. So your challenge would be to do the Mercury retrograde thing of deep reflection to figure out, why is this confusing to me? Is this message unclear because of the person who is giving it to me, because of our relationship? Or is it because of myself and my own fears and anxieties about what this message means or what this message is challenging me to do? And so I just want to reiterate that we are going to hear some kind of news from now until the end of the month. It is going to be confusing. It's not going to be perfectly clear. It will become more clear towards the end of the month. But for now, we absolutely need to sit and reflect on it to really figure out what this dream is trying to tell us or what this text message really means. And that deep reflection will really uncover spiritual insights as well, because Mercury retrograde does make us a lot more attuned to spiritual energies. And so just be aware that this is what we need to practice with this message is discernment. Exactly that. We have to discern what is true, what is not, what is meant for us, and what is not. Expect some news. The news may be about the past with Mercury retrograde. It may be something about some old project you worked on. It may come from a person from the past, like you may hear back from your ex or your ex-best friend, an old boss, those things. This news may also be something that is pushing us to change our direction. Again, with the Mercury retrograde energy, there's a sense that we need to change our direction or take a different course, take a detour. That message or news may push you to do something like that, redirect yourself. The final thing I want to say before moving on is that, yes, this message will potentially come from the external people, like an ex, a text message, an email. But with Mercury in retrograde, there is definitely a sense that this message may be more internal rather than external. Like you might not necessarily hear something from someone, but it might be more that you have a dream or you wake up with a sudden feeling or you just have this like realization in the shower, something like that, you know? So just calling out that even if you don't hear something, some message is kind of being streamed down to us cosmically. It is waiting for us to download it. So we just need to put ourselves into states of rest and relaxation, because that's how we're the best equipped to receive those streams of thought, basically. Okay, so definitely want to emphasize all of those things, but hearing a message is the big one. Again, we're going to receive some amount of clarity now, but it's going to be a lot more clear as time goes on towards the end of the month. Someone had pointed out that the eclipse is trining Saturn, so that is also important as well. So let me talk about that. The eclipse is also going to trine Saturn, and the trine is a harmonious aspect. Saturn is the planet of responsibility and seriousness and maturity. So I really like that trine because it is going to empower us to take responsibility for ourselves or to take the lead, take charge. Stop being controlled by other people. Stop letting people tell us what to do. And we are the ones calling the shots now. So with this trine, I definitely feel like something important for you guys to do is to be proactive in searching out information, news, and data. Like we kind of need to be the ones going out there to research or to talk to people or to really gather the data, facts, and information that we need, because our proactive, our taking initiative and taking the lead may be really what brings the messages to us. Yes, there is still a sense that some of us will hear things unexpectedly from other people, but a lot more of us may find it through our own efforts. And with the eclipse will help us direct us to the right information, like the right websites and the right podcasts and all those things. And so we need to be proactive is the main thing. The trine to Saturn empowers us. We need to take the lead ourselves, do shit on our own. And yet with the Neptune, it is confusing. It's not perfectly clear. We need to dive deep into our inner knowing to discern exactly what the message is. And we also need to be patient. That's the big thing. You don't really need to feel like you get it right away. Again, this energy is really lasting all of this month. And so it is a continuous process of revealing truth, bringing new clarity, seeing things more clearly. I finally feel like the sense that wool is being taken away from our eyes, or like our eyes are being cleaned. That's kind of what I got right now. But those are all the big themes to watch out for. Ooh, I had a mantra. Okay, so let me share this. Oh my God, I'm a cheerleader. Thank you so much. That resonates with me a lot because I am a Leo moon, and Leo is known for like being the cheerleader type of energy. So I always feel like that's what makes me happy, basically. But let me share this mantra. Okay, so obviously we can expect to hear some message or receive information. It might not be clear, but we set the intention that I am open to any and all messages that will help me move forward in my highest, best, brightest path. I am open to receiving any and all messages in any and all forms that they may come. I am doing what I need to do to receive the messages, which is to rest and feel relaxation. Please bring me clear and accurate information that I can also clearly and accurately interpret. Because again, there is a level of confusion. Please bring me clear and accurate info that I can clearly and accurately interpret. And I just trust that I will know what I need to know when I need to know it. Knowing that the clarity is not coming right away, it is coming in pieces, but I just trust that I will receive the pieces as it is necessary for me to receive them. So hopefully that is helpful to you guys. Again, I will be posting this live after this, so you can rewatch to hear that mantra, but I definitely think that's a good thing to really feel into before tomorrow. Awesome. Okay. Ooh. One other thing I want to mention. Okay, so like I reiterated, we're going to hear some information. Again, it's not going to come tomorrow, maybe. It might come the next couple of weeks. The big thing I want to emphasize is that we should not be acting on this information right away. Even though we might hear something that is jarring or surprising or makes us want to do something, we should not take immediate action because of the Mercury retrograde. Retrogrades are a time to receive and to process things, not to act and to make things happen for ourselves. And so we really need to be sitting down with this information, being in a state of surrender and being in a state of receiving rather than trying to make things happen. The big question is like, how do I really feel about this message? Or how do I really feel about this email that I got? Is it something that is ringing true for me? Is it my authentic truth or is it not? Because even the things that we feel in that moment, like our emotions may change as the energies die down. And so just saying, don't act on it right away. There's also the sense that some of us may be getting information overload. Like with Gemini energy, it can be very scattered. And so some of us might be getting a ton of streams of information coming to us. So we don't need to be overwhelmed. We just need to receive. The time to act will really come towards the end of the month again with the Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I know the anxiety is already high with the eclipses in general. And so I just want to, be confident that you don't need to do anything. Like this is a time to receive. I feel like modern society makes it so hard because with capitalism and everything, it feels like we need to be doing. We need to be human beings, as in we're just being. So don't fear the eclipse. Yes, you guys know I've had such a rough time. The North Node in Gemini has been activating my fourth house this year. So for any of you guys with Gemini in the fourth house, it has really been calling to your attention the need to find safety and security and helping us figure out what that truly means. For me, you guys know I've been really like fixated on buying a house. That was my security. But the eclipses have made me realize that buying a house is not security. When I focus so much on that, I am diverting my attention from making things financially stable in my business, doing more readings, investing in crypto, like things that I actually want to be doing, like creating financial security and abundance for myself. And I realized finally that my focus on just buying a house has been keeping me from all the other ways in which I can receive security. And so that is what I am releasing and hopefully stepping into with a new beginning. Mars goes into Leo. I see, yeah, fourth house, people with Gemini in the fourth house can definitely feel anxiety because the fourth house is also about the past and dragging up old wounds, even from past lives, honestly. And so we definitely feel a sense that we are burdened in many ways, but it is also the time to shed them because on some level, we have enough of detachment to those experiences now that we can shed them. Okay. Now I do want to go into talking about all of the interpretations for the houses. The last two things I want to say before I get into that. One thing is, it might actually be really interesting to pay attention to the news, like the actual media and the news, like the mainstream news, because I definitely feel the sense that we are going to be hearing some kind of weird, crazy story, I guess. Like just pay attention to what comes on in the newspapers because there's just so much communication energy that I feel like there's no other way that we can't hear something. The big thing though is to be aware that what you hear might not be the full truth. Again, the confusion and the lack of clarity. Whatever new news stories you hear, or like if there's something crazy that happens, just take it with a grain of salt because again, there's confusion. There's hidden information. We might not be getting the full picture, so just be aware. But it might be interesting to see what's going on. And the other final thing I want to point out is that, yes, we are in intense eclipses, retrogrades, but what we can't forget is the fact that next Monday, June 14th, we also are going to see Saturn square Uranus. Saturn square Uranus is the most important alignment of 2021. If you guys have been following me, you know that this is really something that astrologers have been paying attention to. Saturn is the old, traditional. Uranus is the new, futuristic. They're squaring each other, so they're in conflict with each other. So this, I feel like, is really playing into everything we're seeing this year, which is the new generations, the new technology, the new thinking, the new age, really trying to usurp or take over the old. And of course, the old is not going easily. I mean, they're not going quietly, that's for sure. And I definitely feel like this is a reason why we've also seen a lot of global protests all around the world. I can't even count the number of ones that people have sent me in all different countries, people rebelling against their governments and rebelling against like tyranny and all those things. And so this is just like really intense energy that we're going to experience on June 14th. And again, this alignment is something that we're going to feel for the rest of this month. And so I just want to point out the fact that I still feel like June is bringing tense, somewhat of a restriction, blocker, obstacle type of energy. I just want you guys to be aware that there are still things that we need to fight through or structures that we need to break. If there is anything in your life where someone is limiting you, restricting you, telling you what to do, we have our own personal obstacles and tyranny to battle through. So we may be challenged to face that, especially towards the end of this month. And again, collectively, something big might happen as well. So another ping to pay attention to the news. But yeah. This alignment happened in February, it's going to happen in June, and finally in December. And so it's a long-term thing. I definitely feel like there is more to be revealed, especially towards the end of the year with the other two eclipses we're going to see. And so we're letting go of restrictions. We're breaking free of shackles personally, collectively. So hopefully that that can encourage you guys too, that liberation is the ultimate end goal that we're getting to. And I truly feel like we are entering that zone. Even as challenging as it feels right now, things are becoming way clearer. The veil is becoming thinner. The elites and powers that be are weakening because we are vibrating on a higher level than them. And so don't be afraid, basically. I think a lot of this is coming into fruition. Okay. So I think I talked a lot about everything I wanted to call out for this eclipse. Awesome. Let me just see if people are asking questions. Yeah, a lot of questions about the houses. So I will definitely get into that. But any other questions about the eclipse maybe, or Saturn square Uranus? Again, this is just one of those things that we need to see what happens. It is really a time to be receiving, not acting and doing. So you don't have to feel like you're late or behind or you need to do anything. You're doing the right thing right now just by listening to this information, receiving, and being able to really figure out how it aligns with your soul. Yes, I will be saving it, so no worries. I definitely feel like a lot of people are waking up, even for me personally, because with my housing situation too, I have personally lost a part of my connection to spirit, honestly. Like, I have stopped meditating, I have stopped taking care of myself and my body, and like, these are the true cost that the eclipse is revealing to me. Like, my fixated focus on housing is coming at the cost of my health, sanity, spiritual connection, and so I definitely feel like this is a time to realign ourselves. How can we differentiate if the communication is hazy? It really does just go back to internal self-reflection, which is the whole point of Mercury retrograde anyways, is to sit with ourselves. Do the journaling, do the meditating, do the visualization, or even just listening to music, drawing. Any of those things can really help you clarify, like, is this really right for me, or is it someone else's bullshit that is clearing up my mindset, basically? And so that is really what we need to get to. And so that's why it's so important to not feel like you need to be doing too much work. We actually need to be resting a lot more, because rest is the only way we can truly feel what our soul is calling on us to do. Haven't worked out in days. I feel you. Yes. I won't tell you when I last worked out, but yes, my housing situation is shifting. Okay, so I'll just tell you quickly. Again, I've had this whole long saga with housing this year because Gemini is my fourth house, really challenging me to find security. I finally let go of looking for a house with the last eclipse. I just let that dream go. I figured out that is not security. What I actually want is financial security with money, investing, crypto. That's like what I want to do next. The best news is I actually heard today from a realtor that I actually got an apartment. Like, I'm able to rent this apartment, because renting an apartment has been really hard too with the crazy housing situation. And so I actually finally am gonna move out. Yay! I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm finally moving out after 2 years of putting up with BS. Lots of other things to talk about there, but I definitely feel like that's eclipse driven. Like, I heard good news, even though it's not like right away. But again, this energy has been building for 2 weeks now at least. And so you can expect to feel similarly too. Yay, thank you. I can't believe it. And again, I would have never gotten this amazing apartment if I didn't let go of that dream. And like, this apartment happened to come at the exact time that I was ready to find it. And so I definitely feel the sense of alignment. Hopefully for you guys with North Node in Gemini in the fourth house, something around housing is going to come up for you as well. So let me just get into interpretations for the houses now. Thank you guys. Yay! I know, because honestly, like, in this house now, I live with someone who hates astrology, and it's not even like they hate astrology. They always ask me, when are you going to get a real job, basically? Like, when are you going to quit, get a real job? Like, when are you going to stop messing around Instagram? Like, I'm hearing all these things. It's so annoying. But yeah, reclaiming my power. Okay, let me get into the interpretations. Yes, I will share the view. Okay, so let me just start with the fourth house, because that's for me as well. So the fourth house, again, for the last year, honestly, you guys might have been feeling the sense that you are not safe or you are not secure in your house or in your family. You might have had tension with family or even with a mother figure, like whether that's a mom or a grandma or even like a boss maternal figure. And so you're really being asked to question, like, what is my true sense of security? Am I paying attention to my emotional security, my physical, my mental? How am I blocking myself from feeling safe and rooted? And then you may receive news from your family members or from people you have become estranged with, something like that. Something about your housing or home situation is coming into view. It also might be about the past wounds, childhood wounds, wounds from upbringing. Any of those things may be situations where you need to rewrite the story and like write it in a different way. Your perception of the trauma may need to be changed. And so that is definitely something that you need to consider for this eclipse. Let's go start from the first house now. So again, the eclipse will be exact at 19 degrees of Gemini. So see where 19 degrees of Gemini is for you. If that happens to be in your first house, then you're most likely a Gemini rising, right? With that, the North Node has been in your first house all year. So it's really been challenging you to figure out who you truly are without the external chatter and beliefs of other people. You may have been really feeling uncomfortable in your skin this year too. Like feeling like you don't know who you are, or you don't know how you want to dress anymore. You don't know like what you stand for, what you believe in. This is really just about rewriting your beliefs about yourself, your perception about yourself, the names you call yourself, the words you use with yourself. You know, I had a therapist tell me that I should stop calling myself a psycho because that is just a perception of me. If I keep saying it, that's going to become true. And so we need to think about the identities you might use on yourself, the names you might call yourself, the talk you give yourself. Is it negative talk? Is it supportive talk? You need to rewrite your own story. So that is definitely important for the first house. It might also be about physical health, taking care of your body. Janelle, I think it is. If you have the eclipse in the first house, then health is a big focus too, honestly. Okay. When does the North Node leave Gemini? I think it is early 2022. I don't know exactly, but it's definitely next year. Okay. So if you have this eclipse in your second house, then of course the second house is broadly about your resources, your money, your time, your energy, and the ways in which you give yourself to other people. So this is really asking you to figure out, like, have you been spending your resources wisely? Have you been mindful of your money? Some of you guys may need to do a financial overview or to rewrite money stories that you tell yourself in your head. So many of us are prone to money stories like, I will never make enough, or I can't do what I love and make money. Like the beliefs and perceptions we have about money may be something you need to rewrite for the second house. It may generally also be about just how you spend your energy. Like, are you spending it on things that are helpful to you and that are actually getting you what you want? Or is it something that's based on the beliefs of other people or something that is tying you to the past? With Gemini in the second house, you really have the potential to make money by being a communicator, by sharing a message or being a storyteller or writing, publishing. Like you really have potential for that. So you may want to think about how that can translate into your next chapter. Okay, Gemini 6th house. Yeah, Taurus. Awesome. So then we have the eclipse falling in the third house. If you have the Gemini eclipse falling in your third house, then that is like a double emphasis of Gemini energy because the third house is ruled by Gemini. And so this is really the time. I think a big focus for you guys is about your voice and whether you are speaking up about things that really matter to you. Because sometimes when we have blockers in the third house, it's about like our throat chakra becoming stagnant or diminished because we're too afraid to say what's on our mind or to speak our truth or to really say no, any of those things. You may really want to focus on doing like throat chakra exercises tomorrow, like visualizing it, being very active, glowing blue, becoming brighter, bigger. Think about areas of your life where you may have potentially been dishonest, not even on purpose, but because you don't want to get in conflict with someone or you don't want the other person to be mad at you. Finding your voice is a big theme for the third house. It could also be about finding more confidence in your knowledge, because the third house is about communication and education. And so if you feel like you have been doubting how much you know, like maybe you want to be a tarot reader, but you're like, I don't know as much as other people. There's no way, people would pay me. This is really the time to find confidence in your knowledge and to just trust that you know exactly as much as you're supposed to know right now. And just also trust that the universe will bring you clients who are perfect for your level of knowledge, if that is something you want to be getting into. Short distance travel is also a big theme with the third house too, yes. And so some of you guys may be called on to visit someone, like you may get a call from a neighbor or someone in the local neighborhood, or you may need to do something more for the local community. If there is something going on politically or socially in your neighborhood, those are all important concepts with the third house. Okay. Awesome. Yes. Okay, perfect. Oh, the final thing I want to say, third house is siblings are also ruled by the third house. So if some of you guys are having like sibling issues or just like some tense relationships, it is time to have a fresh start there. It is time to rewrite those stories. It is time to forgive too, honestly. And so definitely consider that for any sibling tension you have. Okay. Okay. So we talked about 1, 2, 4 now. Again, if you missed your placement, then I will be reposting this afterwards, so don't worry about it. Okay, let's go on to the 5th house. I know a lot of you guys, I think, had the 5th house here. So if the eclipse is falling in the 5th house for you, then it is really lighting up your ego, your passions, your inner fire is really what it is, like what you truly want to be doing for yourself, by yourself, not for other people or because other people are telling you to do it. You guys have had the South Node in your 11th house all year. So you have really been prone to focusing on other people's needs over your own. You may have really felt like you should be, taking care of some political cause or taking care of a group or just doing something where you're kind of like letting go of your own desires for other people. And so those of you guys with eclipse in the 5th house, this is really kind of the time to be selfish. I'm going to be honest. Selfish in the best sense, because you potentially have not been selfish enough this year. Again, like really calling back into view, like what makes you feel like a kid again. That's the best thing about the 5th house. It's like, how do I have fun? What makes me feel like a kid? Like what just makes me light up because it's resonating on such a deep level. And so focusing on how you have fun, how you can be a little bit more selfish. Some of you guys may also find romance coming into the picture, because the 5th house also rules dating. And so you might actually hear back from like an ex or an ex fling, especially. Just someone might come back into your purview from the past. Honestly, this might be a time to just like kind of have fun with past relationships. Again, the 5th house is all about just figuring out like what makes you laugh, what makes you joyous, what makes you feel like a kid again. And so if that just means having a fling from the past, a blast from the past, just go for it. That's how I feel. Yes, it is definitely a time to shine. The 5th house is all about being on stage. And so you kind of have been keeping yourself from that potentially. This is really the time to figure out like how you can allow yourself to be seen without apology either. Okay. Awesome. 11th house, yes, we will get there. 9th house is a big one. Okay. So if the eclipse is falling in your 6th house, 6th house is a Virgo house ruling our work, our productivity, our routine, our schedule. Honestly, it's kind of like the mundane, boring stuff of life, right? Like what time we wake up, what we have for breakfast, our habits, our workload, our health, our body. If you have the eclipse here, then you potentially have been kind of detaching yourself from reality this past year. The South Node has been in your 12th house, so it has really been making you prone to dreams and fantasy and kind of getting lost in rose-colored glasses, kind of like not being able to see things clearly or getting lost in fantasy and not being able to deal with reality. So just saying like you may find that this is a time that calls on you to re-ground yourself, basically, like really figure out what are the practical things I need to get done. Like we need to pay our bills. We need to get our homework done. We need to like take care of our body. And some of us might have been ignoring it because we have been lost in dreams and fantasy and just like other things that have been detaching us from reality. Some of it might also mean you need to let go of bad habits, honestly. Bad habits that make you detach from reality, like gaming, drugs, alcohol, like obviously all fine in moderation, but excess of all of those things might be something you need to really pay attention to with this new moon, because there's a rebirth of your routines, there's a rebirth of your health, and of the practical matters of life. So it's kind of time to get to work, time to get grounded, and really also learn how to say no to people. Some of you guys may have been getting lost because you have been focusing too much on other people's problems and other people's needs, and giving more to them than you give to yourself. And so it is really the time to reclaim that energy and focus on your physical body, grounding, feeling yourself as a human, and really honoring your body as a spiritual instrument as well. So all of those themes come to mind. Okay. Yeah, let me know like how this resonates with you guys as well as I go through this. We know how to say no. You guys are just very efficient. That's how I think of you guys. Okay, awesome. It's clear. Okay. So now we have 6 more houses to go. So if you have the eclipse falling in your 7th house, then this is really signaling a rebirth or a fresh start in terms of your relationships. Now, this can be romantic relationships. It can also be just personal, best friend, mother, just kind of like a very close one-on-one relationship. And so this is really the time to have a fresh start with that. And with some of you guys, you may have been spending this last year being a little bit too focused on yourself. So you may have had the opposite problem as other houses where you have been more focused on yourself or what you want to do rather than other people. Not saying it applies to all of you guys, but the South Node has been in your 1st house, which may have been calling more attention to yourself. Also because you may have felt like a lot more of your insecurities were brought up this year, more of your fears or anxieties, worries about things that can happen when the South Node is in your 1st house. So this is really a time to release that by focusing on other people. And this is really beautiful for you guys, especially to do what I said before about like getting in conversation with people. You may actually really want to like call up a friend in the next couple of days and just like reach out to someone from the past or from your life now, because something about the ways in which you interact with people are gonna bring this explosive new beginning, honestly. And you might find that you can clear away old baggage with certain relationships. Like again, rewriting certain stories about the other person or rewriting their perception of you as well. You may even be someone who wants to reach out to like an ex, basically. Like you might be the one reaching out to the ex because the eclipse is in your 7th house. And so, yeah, some of you guys may have been doing things on your own only because you felt unsupported. So this is really the time to ask for help, actually, because the universe wants to support you, but it can't do that if you're just kind of only doing things in your own lane. Like we need to be willing to be vulnerable and open up to other people. And so opening up, being curious and open-minded with that too is all important. Okay, but that is exciting, especially for some of you guys who may be wanting to revisit an old relationship. Especially very, very good for those of you guys with eclipse in the 7th house. Yeah, you've been feeling alone, I know. Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, yay. And oh my God, almost had a disaster. Okay. Some of this may also be you get to write what kind of relationship you actually want to have. So this is really the time to do like future journaling, like saying this is the exact relationship that I have now. I'm so grateful that my partner is so loving and attentive and all those things. Like you have the power to write your next relationship. And so definitely keep that in mind and try to do that tomorrow. Oh, thank you. Yay. Okay. What about North Node in Gemini? If you have North Node in Gemini, then this is really a time of fate and destiny for you, honestly. Anyone with placements in Gemini or Sagittarius are honestly going through like an internal realignment from the inside out. Things might change in kind of all aspects of your life, honestly. But you especially need to embrace change because things are just going to happen to you that are meant to happen. Woohoo! Yes, exactly. Okay, yes, nodal return, you're absolutely right, which only happens 20 years, I think. Yeah, every 20 years. And so you may actually want to see what you were doing 20 years ago if you were alive then, because some of the same themes may come about. Okay. Chiron in Gemini, you have a wound in terms of your voice and your knowledge. And so if you feel like you don't know enough, even if you're really smart, you doubt yourself, your voice, you never feel like you are articulate enough or you don't deserve to be heard. All of those things are like stories to rewrite basically with this eclipse. Okay. I mean, those of you guys with Venus there, I mean, it's really a rebirth of your self-worth is the big thing. Like Venus is relationships, but relationships start with how much you value yourself. And so self-worth, self-esteem, seeing yourself as a prize, those are all things that you guys need to reflect on in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so let's move on to the 8th house because yeah, it's 6 o'clock. Okay, 8th house. This is tricky, I'm not gonna lie, because 8th house, always hard to decipher. Scorpio, the house of death, sex, rebirth, transformation, like there's a lot going on there. If the eclipse is falling in your 8th house, then there is some area of life where you need to regain your power. I mean, that's like the most general way to say it. It's like there's some area of life where you have been powerless or out of control or being overshadowed by other people. It may also be that you yourself need to be more willing to face your shadows because with the South Node in your 2nd house, you may have been trying to keep it surface level because you don't want to dig deep. You don't want to face the trauma or the fears and the anxiety. But you don't realize that facing that is exactly what unlocks the next level for you. The next level of power, of spiritual insight, of connection to the divine. Like anything you really want is going to come when you go through emotional turmoil, to be exactly honest. But this is a rebirth of your power. So definitely be aware of that. So rebirth of your power, but it does mean facing emotional trauma, rewriting your perception of those emotional traumas. There's also a sense with the 8th house that you need to ask other people for help as well, because South Node in the 2nd house, you may have been doing too much on your own again. And so asking others for help, it's also about doing things more smartly, working smarter, not harder. And so if you've been putting in too much energy into something without figuring out how to optimize it or make it more efficient, all of those things are really important to consider. With this eclipse too, I wonder if some of you guys may want to learn, Gemini, more about like investing, cryptocurrency, 8th house things. And so this can be a beautiful time to learn more about the financial side of life. You can learn more about financial things or about spiritual things with eclipse in the 8th house because it encompasses all of those themes. So this could be a really good time to sign up for a class or a course. If you have the eclipse in the 2nd house or the 8th house, it is definitely a good time to vamp up your knowledge in terms of your finances and money. Yes, I love astroseek.com, honestly. Thank you, my glasses. They're from Warby Parker. Rebirth of the way you think. Yeah, I think that is definitely a big theme with Gemini in general, too. The occult, absolutely. Okay, so now we have 4 more houses. If you have the eclipse falling in your 9th house, this is really a rebirth of your sense of faith and optimism. You may have felt like you have lost hope, lost faith, because there has been a loss of connection to the greater purpose. You might have been focusing too much on the details and on kind of the mundane little things of life, rather than seeing the bigger picture and allowing yourself to see how it all connects or how everything makes sense all together, instead of trying to fixate on details or only focus on one thing rather than seeing everything all at once. There is a general sense that you need to reactivate your hope, optimism, and this is really going to come with it really usually comes with aligning to a spiritual purpose again. So this might be a time for you guys to learn more about the North Node, actually. The North Node is our point of destiny, and it's really our life purpose. And learning more about your personal North Node sign and house may be really healing in terms of helping you understand that your life is one grand adventure and you are just in this like kind of difficult part of it, but there is like this treasure to be found. There is more fun to be had, there's more to be explored, and you just need to regain the sense that there is that bigger picture and you're going to get there. Yes, finding 19 degrees of Gemini on your chart. Again, I have a highlights bubble called Finding Degrees that can give you more tutorial on how to do that. Yeah, learn more about the North Node. I posted recently like I have an old post about the North Node. And I also like this astrologer named Karen Black. If you search that on Google, she has articles for every single North Node sign and house. So that's really where I've learned a lot of this knowledge too. But sense of optimism, obviously the ninth house is also related to travel. So some of you guys may need to think about your next traveling adventure or vacation, basically. The ninth house can also be about higher education. And I know some of you guys may be waiting to hear back from masters or like hearing back from getting into school or, doing something related to education, basically. So my North Node post read me filth. Yeah, honestly, me too. I'm just like, my South Node Leo is so hard to let go of. But again, yeah, so the ninth house is travel, education, realigning to something that makes us have hope and optimism. Like it's really like seeing the glass half full, seeing the beauty in everything. Like that's some of what you may need to refocus on with this eclipse. Critical degrees. Yeah, I haven't really talked. Honestly, I don't know that much about degree theory, but I will look more into it and like get back to you. Okay. Okay, so let's go on to eclipse in the 10th house. That's a good question, Christy, and people always ask me that. You do have Gemini on your chart, I will promise, because here's my paper chart. Everyone's birth chart looks like this, where they have all 12 signs on their chart. So you will absolutely have Gemini somewhere. This chart is from astrocharts.com. So go there, find this, do your birth chart, and then you will see Gemini written there. You're Leo South Node too. I love that. That means obviously North Node at Aquarius, which I absolutely love. Revolutionary, rebel, new age energy. We're literally bringing the future. So exciting. Of course, Christy. Okay, let me go into the last three houses. So eclipse in your 10th house. Obviously, I'm sure many of you guys know the 10th house is all about your career, higher calling, your life purpose in many ways, also your public status, your leadership. And so this eclipse is bringing a rebirth to that, where it's challenging you to write the story of the future career you want, or the ways in which the impact you really want to make on the world. And the big question for you guys is, what is the legacy you want to leave behind? Like when people hear of your name, even if it's just like people close to you, what do you want them to think of, like when they hear your name? Like what is your legacy? What is the impact you're trying to leave behind? Even if it's just for right now, it doesn't have to be like this forever lifelong goal. What is the legacy or impact you want to be making right now? Even if it's just with your friends or your close community, there is a sense that you need to write that story. Like you literally need to write out, this is what I am, the impact I'm leaving. There is also the sense that with the South Node in your 4th house, you may have been holding yourself back from doing the things you need to do in your career. Like some of you guys may have been too afraid. The 4th house can mean like fear of leaving the nest or fear of going out of your comfort zone. And so there's definitely the sense that you need to figure out like what is holding you back. Is it your stories? Is it other people's opinions? How can you let go of them? Oftentimes it will come from your family. Yeah, Kate, you're exactly right with KarenBlack.com. That's the website. So again, with the 10th house, like how can you let go of the fear that things are not going to work out? Because the more that you focus on what you actually want to do in terms of the impact and the difference you want to make and how you want to change people, this is really the time to write out exactly what you want to see happen in your career. But again, don't tie it to a very specific outcome. It's more about like, I want to reach, so many people and help them awaken to their abilities or help them feel XYZ, but not like I want this job or this company. You know what I mean? So don't focus on that. Okay. So another thing with the 10th house too, I want to call out is that you may need to be pushing yourself to speak out publicly. The 10th house is about being a public figure. Gemini is about communication, right? So you may actually need to be posting something politically or socially online just with your friends, but there is a sense that you may need to be speaking out actually, because again, you may have been holding yourself back with the South Node in the 10th house. And so figuring out the message you want to share and how you want to share it. Okay. So for Diane's question, you look at both the sign and the house. So your North Node is in Leo, and it's also in the 12th house. So it is in Leo and 12th house. It's not in Pisces, even though Pisces rules the 12th house. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I personally work with Placidus. I just because like that's kind of the most popular. That's what all the astrology calculators default to. And honestly, with my clients, I have found that it's mostly successful for all the clients. But I know so many of you guys are into whole sign too. So I definitely want to look into it more. Job searching this month is really useful for those of you guys with eclipse in the 10th house. Okay, let me finish out the last two before I lose my voice. Yeah, I definitely don't think you should go back to your old career if it makes you unhappy. You can go back to an old career if that is the right thing for you. Like it makes you feel joyful and elated because Mercury retrograde is great for going back. But if it's making you miserable, then definitely the eclipse does not want you to do that. And if you do that, you might find that something unexpected happens with the job because of the eclipse energy. If your North Node is in Leo, then you absolutely need to learn how to shine like a Leo, roar like a Leo, all of those things. Okay, so North Node in the 11th house. Oh, sorry, eclipse in the 11th house. If you have the eclipse falling in your 11th house, that rules community, humanitarian ideals, innovation, doing something for the group. So this is really the time when you need to figure out what kind of humanitarian cause you want to align to. What do you want to root for? What are the causes or communities you want to fight for? And so this is really the time to become more of an activist in many ways, aligning yourself to some kind of group. Even if it's not political, it could be about like an astrology group or a tarot group or something of a like-minded interest. Figuring out like what you want to champion, who you want to fight for. And I say this because with the South Node in the 5th house for you, you may have been focusing too much on your own desires. It's kind of the opposite of people with eclipse in the 5th house. But you have been focusing too much perhaps on your own desires and ego. Some of that is also spurred because the South Node has been activating insecurity for you this year, kind of making you feel like you need to focus on yourself. But what you need to realize is that you will be able to mitigate insecurity and fear and anxiety when you focus on your humanitarian impact and what you can be doing for other people. And so that is really the important thing to keep in mind is like, how can I reshift my thinking into thinking about like, what do other people need? And with that, you will naturally be able to heal your own sense of insecurity because you will see how other people validate you for your hard work and all the things you do for them. So that is really important. Yeah. With the Gemini in 11th house too, some of you guys may want to start social media accounts, do something more online in terms of social networking, in terms of helping people and making an impact. And so that could be a great thing to start with this eclipse energy. But again, I definitely feel like we should not really do anything until towards the end of the month because of the retrograde. Okay. Corey, you have it in the 11th house. Yep, that is a big one. And you are also called on to think more about like how you can be more experimental in your life with the 11th house. Like, are you sticking to the same things over and over again? Like routine? Like, are you innovating enough? Even just little things like, you know, like doing something differently for exercise or eating something new or trying to date new people. Like there's a certain amount of like experimentation that you need to introduce into your life now. Okay. We are finally at the end. Thank you for everyone who has eclipse in the 12th house because obviously you guys are the last. But yeah, bringing in new vibes, that is so important. And again, that experimentation will help you understand like what impact you can be making for other people. So that is important. Steve, you have it in the 11th house. Yeah, that makes sense. If the South Node is in Gemini, then it is really calling up old trauma for you, honestly. It's like bringing up of karma because you need to release them. So you may really need to reflect on like some of the things or grievances that you're not letting go of or are holding you back. Like something about old hurts and wounds need to be addressed now. Oh, I know that Getting job offers is hard. Yeah. Honestly, though, I feel like if it feels aligned to you, like if it feels like this is resonating on a soul level, I don't think we should stop ourselves just because of the retrograde. But the retrograde is only saying that you need to do self-reflection before taking action, because you don't know how you truly feel. We are in a haze of fogginess, but we are also more spiritually connected. And so if we take that time, we can receive the answers. Okay, finally, for those of you guys with eclipse in the 12th house, big one, because 12th house is all about your subconscious thoughts, your spirituality, the way you transcend. And the eclipse can really illuminate subconscious fears, just like Joy said, but it's like subconscious fears, skeletons in your closet, all the things we leave buried or just not want to face. Those are the things that really need to be rewritten for you, for sure. Rewriting, like, yeah, just like these thoughts I have about myself or about other people. You may be more emotional than other people with this eclipse, because the dredging up of trauma and energies is obviously very taxing physically and emotionally. So allow yourself to feel it, allow yourself to cry it out. You may also be needing to connect to a greater sense of purpose, because with the South Node in your 6th house, you guys may have been focusing too much on the little stuff of life, like the practical work, the daily routine schedules, and not allowing yourself to open up about your greater magic and your greater purpose. Really trusting that purpose, trusting your intuition, trusting your psychic abilities. Any of those things can really come up. And it's because you can't trust yourself, because you have not faced your shadows and you have not faced subconscious fears. And this is going to keep coming up over and over again until you address it. And so it's not something to be swept under the rug. All the things you did sweep under the rug are coming up now. But what you guys need to be excited for is the fact that after this eclipse happens in the 12th house, the moon will move into the 1st house. And with the 1st house, that is really like a rebirth of your identity, and people can see you in a different way. But again, it really happens once you have kind of like dug out all the skeletons and, you know, kind of shed things with the 12th house. And so the 12th house is really, yes, a time of preparation. Joy, I think you should be an astrologer actually, because you know so much. So I am doing the 12th house right now. So again, 12th house, you guys are really more emotional than other people, dredging up old trauma or old wounds, or even just old beliefs about yourself, feeling the need to reconnect to spirit, because you may have been too focused on the little things. You may have also been too focused on kind of like trying to make things happen for yourself without relying on other people. And for you, you especially need to remember how to rely on spirit. That might be something you have lost or forgotten. And so you need to find that purpose again, because you're not allowing yourself to be supported. You're kind of thinking that you have to do everything on your own, basically. Yeah, Melissa, old things coming up. Exactly. Yeah. From this lifetime, and honestly, even from past lifetimes, it can be all of those things. The 12th house is really intense. And for you guys especially, like rest is the number one thing. Like if you don't rest, then like you will kind of feel like you're going insane maybe. So all of those things are important. Yes, it will be saved. I'm going to repost it after this. Okay, awesome. Let's see. I think I missed a lot. Fatima, if you have interceptive Gemini, I mean, Gemini is kind of like, intercepted signs means it's either a superpower or a blocker. So you have the superpower of being a communicator for the community, which is the 11th house. You can be a voice, you can be like a megaphone, you can be a teacher, but you may need to address, again, issues of not feeling like you deserve to be heard or not feeling like you know enough. Those are important things to think about. Also, if you have South Node in Gemini or Chiron in Gemini. Yes, Gemini is all about understanding. And so this is helping us understand things more clearly, see things more clearly, remove the wool, remove the rose-colored glasses. There's a lot of clarity. But again, yes, it is confusing with the retrograde, with Neptune. Clarity will come towards the end of the month. And so don't feel like you have to do anything now. Again, this is the time to receive, and that's all you need to be doing. Okay, guys, thank you so much for sticking with me and for talking about all this. We are definitely over time now, but I'm so glad we can get through everything. So hopefully it's helpful. I will repost this, so no worries. And yeah, hopefully let's keep chatting and see how this unfolds for all of us. But I set the intention that anything that happens is in the best and highest good for everyone. So with that, thanks so much, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye. Bye. Thank you.